Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started in about 1 minute. I want to get a few more people into the stream. If you are coming in, be sure to drop in the chat where you guys are checking in from today. We'll love to connect with you. Hello, everyone. We'll get started momentarily. If you're just joining us, we're asking that you continue to engage with us in the chat by letting us know where you're checking in from today. So again, hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the IT Senior Management Forum Virtual Leadership Series. And thank you for joining us today. I'm Sherelle Bailey, the Director of Events for ITSMF. ITSMF mission is to increase the representation of Black professionals at senior levels in technology to impact organizational innovation and growth. We do this by developing and nurturing these dynamic leaders through enrichment of the mind, body, and soul. As a way to continue work towards our mission, ITSMF has partnered with Lincoln Financial Group for this virtual leadership series, Building a Stronger Future, Strategies for Creating Early Talent Partnerships, where we will hear from executives from Lincoln Financial Group to discuss how investing in early talent partnerships create larger pipelines for consideration for future leadership positions. We'll show leaders the future of work and the tactics that will power it, emphasizing creative solutions to develop technical skills. Our conversation will also look at how Lincoln is partnering with HBCUs to better prepare students for tech careers and long-term talent solutions for the next 5 to 10 years. Our moderator for this afternoon will be our very own Vice President and Dean of our Global Institute for Professional Development, Robert Scott, who, in addition to overseeing programs dedicated to the development of African American technology executives, is also a certified diversity professional by the National Diversity Council and a diversity trainer by the Cultural Intelligence Center. Our Lincoln Financial Group esteemed panel includes Talbert Thomas, SVP of IT Strategy, Operations, and Finance; Judith Shepard, AVP, IT Enterprise Strategy and Planning; and Alisha Campbell, Senior Consultant, Diversity Recruiting. So as we prepare to hear from these great leaders at Lincoln Financial, I encourage you all to engage with one another in the chat. And if you have questions for our presenters throughout the presentation, please be sure to put it in the chat or the comment box, and we'll have a live Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Robert Scott.
Thank you so much, Sherelle, and hello, everyone. Welcome. We're really, really pleased that you decided to spend this time with us to learn from our partner, Lincoln Financial. I think you'll find it to be an interesting and rewarding hour of discussion. As many of you know, Lincoln Financial is a Fortune 200 company that offers a wide range of financial services. They have over 10,000 employees that provide products and solutions and educations that help their clients move towards the future. Now, traditionally, the financial services has not been known for its diverse employee populations, but Lincoln is working to debunk that myth. And what we're going to do today is to talk about some of their rationale for why they're taking the steps that they're taking, talk about their strategies, and hopefully you will learn from them some ways that you and your organization might do the same. So without any further ado, I'd like to give the panel a chance to introduce themselves a little bit better. I'm going to do it in reverse order. So Alisha, I'm going to start with you.
Great. Thank you, Robert. Hello, everyone. My name is Alisha Campbell. I lead our diversity recruiting team here at Lincoln Financial Group. I've been with Lincoln for about 9 years, starting out as a traditional recruiter, supporting all of our corporate functions. About 3 years ago, I transitioned into focusing specifically on minority attraction strategies and have been doing that it seems like forever now. And so I do support, or my team supports the organization from entry level all the way to executive. And I am in Philadelphia. So, hey, to anyone who's in Philly. And I attended Clark Atlanta University. So I am an HBCU alum.
Outstanding. Thank you, Alisha. Judith?
Sure. Thank you, Robert. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I've been at Lincoln for about 7 years, and I work in IT in our strategy and planning team. And my job is really focused on how we do technology planning and think about the future of technology and innovation, and how we look at putting those plans into actions and working across IT to make that happen. I'm in New England, which started off at 29 degrees this morning. So if anybody's in the New England area, I know you're hoping for spring soon. So really excited to be here. Thank you, Robert.
Great. Thank you, Judith. And last but not least, Talbert.
Hey, hello, everybody. My name's Talbert Thomas. I've been with Lincoln almost 6 years. Prior to that, I was with Accenture for a while, and from a consulting standpoint. At Lincoln, I'm in charge of strategy, which Judith's on the team, and a valuable member of, as well as operations. And in finance, and in terms of operations, that's really around, how do we make sure that the IT organization is operating at a high level and driving value for the business at its highest level. And from a finance standpoint, expense management is critical, but also we think about what's the right way to invest in which technologies, and how do we think about resource allocation. So those are the 3 areas of responsibility, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I spend a lot of time on our talent strategy as well, as under that strategy umbrella for technology. So looking forward to engaging and getting some good questions and feedback from the group.
Excellent. Thank you, Talbert. And I should say that I am with the IT Senior Management Forum. I've been in this role now for 6 years, member of ITSMF since 2002, so over 20 years. I'm a 32-year vet from Procter & Gamble and a 12-year retiree from the University of Michigan. So I have both corporate and academia in me, which kind of helps drive the conversation we're going to have today, I think. And so I get the pleasure of poking at all three of you to ask questions. And, Talbert, I'm going to start with this question about the quote unquote myth of diversity in financial services. Can you speak to that? Is that really a true myth? And if so, why does Lincoln Financial care about that?
Yeah, I think probably historically there is some basis for the myth. I think there's probably some grounds of truth in all myths. But I think, across the board, diversity has become, a prominent area of focus across financial services, and particularly at Lincoln. And, the drive behind that is manyfold. I mean, one, I think it's the right thing to do business-wise, right? I think in terms of bringing the right level of talent, thinking, and a diverse standpoint of perspectives, and as well as, just matching your stakeholders as well. When you think about mirroring your stakeholders, whether that's your distribution partners or the customers you serve, all factors that we've been thinking about. And what we found is that the key for us is really raising kind of the prominence and how we manage to diversity and making it at the forefront along with any other high level business objectives that we have. So it's definitely been critical. I think I've seen this level of importance continue to raise, and I think we've raised the bar every year since I've been at Lincoln, and we look to really be ambitious and achieve some real traction and goals.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Talbert. And I may direct questions to any one of our panelists, but panelists, at any time, if you want to add on, just signal, and by all means, your comments are welcome as well. And Sherelle will have my head. I was supposed to also say that if you've got questions for the panel, please put those in the comment section, and we've got someone monitoring the comments, and we'll bring those questions forward. So appreciate that. So anybody want to tag on Talbert's question before I ask the next one? I think that means you've done an outstanding job, Talbert. You're going to get us off to a roaring start here. So this one is for Judith. Judith, talk about the initiatives that are being implemented at Lincoln, and particularly targeting HBCUs and promoting technology education and innovation.
No, sure. Well, I think we have several programs in place that not only promote opportunities, but I think demonstrate where we want to really invest in our early talent across the board, as well as specific programs that we're working on. In fact, I'm on the diversity action team in IT, and we're targeting specific partnerships with Morgan State, for example. We have a strong internship program, I think, for different talent roles across IT, targeting early talent while they're in school. We have an established leadership preparation program, which is geared for after you graduate and you want to start your career post-graduation. We have something we do every year. It's called CodeLink, which is our annual hackathon. It's in its 7th year. And this year, that's going to be hosted at Morgan State, for example. I've got a 2-day hackathon with students. And as we continue to strengthen and expand our partnerships this year, one of the things I've been a part of developing with the diversity action team is working with Morgan State to identify areas of opportunities where we can supplement the current computer science curriculum, and working with the program team there. So, for example, as they see opportunities with JavaScript or, data and algorithms or machine learning, looking at how we create workshops for those interns coming in and interested in the software engineering program, and really targeting both the learning and the mentoring that they'll receive when they get here. So it's really experiential. And so we're expanding our partnership in that space in particular this year.
Excellent. That's really impressive. And I want to do a follow-up to really all of you, but I'll start with Alisha on this one. Clearly, Lincoln is looking for some kind of benefit by partnering with HBCUs in this kind of initiative. What are those benefits? Can you articulate what's the motivation and the payoff to you as an organization for partnering with HBCUs like this? Alisha?
Yes. So, we're all supportive of HBCUs, right? And so some of my answers are going to be biased as an HBCU alum. So I just want to give that disclaimer. But really within the companies, research really shows that companies are 21% more likely to increase their profits if they have gender and ethnic diversity within the organization. So the organizations are really able to thrive based on, going in. I would say that the HBCU talent is a underutilized or under-tapped talent within the community. Mm-hmm. I feel like they have a lot of great things to offer companies. And so for us to go in and really identify the students, understand their needs and how they can benefit the company is really beneficial for everyone.
Great. Thank you so much. Talbert, do you have anything to add to that question around benefits for companies?
Yeah, the one thing I'd say just in terms of, what we're trying to accomplish is we're really looking for strategic partners, right? Strategic partnerships. And I think the HBCUs afford that ability for us to have that level of engagement and strategic partnership. And then it provides the benefit of access to a pool of talent that is hard for us to tap into, otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think having that level of partnership, being able to do things like Judith talked about, where you can even influence the curriculum in a landscape where technology is changing all the time, right, is invaluable, right? So I think that's one of the big benefits I look at, and we think about the talent strategy all the time, getting that level of pipeline, that level of strategic partnership can do us wonders, in a field where there's a war for talent. And that's probably a phrase that's used all the time, but it's particularly, heightened in the technology field.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. Judith, I'll give you an opportunity to comment on that as well.
Sure, and thank you. I'm particularly, as we are with our strategy, keen on not only the benefits for the company, but the benefits for the early talent. One, I think by investing, and it doesn't have to begin with the HBCU. We've tapped high school, the high school early talent. I think the more companies are willing to invest, because the audience we're talking about here in certain communities don't have that opportunity and the visibility to the art of what's possible, especially in the technology fields, and especially for girls or young women. When I think about the STEM programs and just opportunities in IT. And I feel that there's great benefit in investing in that talent earlier on, so that you've got someone who's engaged and want to stay. So it helps, I think, with your long-term attrition. We've got key skills like in the cybersecurity space that I know many companies go after. And so I'm using that as an example. If we're willing to invest, you're going to have that talent, that consistent talent pipeline, hopefully, right, that you help develop. So I feel like that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great benefit.
So, the mission of ITSMF has been to increase the amount of people of color in the tech industry. And there's been a lot in the news that has spoken to the fact that the needle really hasn't moved that much. The number of Black and brown faces that are in the tech industry in general, much less in executive ranks, has moved, but only moved slightly. How do you see the role of HBCUs in changing that? What's the opportunity or the lost opportunity by investing in HBCUs or not investing in HBCUs?
So 25% of African Americans that graduate with a STEM degree come from HBCUs. So I feel like going into the HBCUs really allow us to tap into almost this unmarked talent, right? Like people just aren't there. Going there and being able to expand on their skill set, creating opportunities for them is really what we're trying to do, and it helps elevate the career in the field.
Okay, good. Anyone else want to chime in on that? Changing the face of technology.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think it's just very important. I think the needs of the industry itself and the opportunity afforded actually have a nice synergy with each other, right? We both need it. So there's a talent crunch in technology, right? We constantly are talking about how can we get the talent we need. So we have a deficit, right? And I think it's a growing field by far, right? And so it's a natural, I think, fit to look in areas where we say are underrepresented today, to say, could that be a space that helps apply and address this talent deficit that we have? And so I think there's a good opportunity, and that's why you're seeing so much energy. I know Lincoln is putting a lot of energy to say, how can we unearth that talent and create that bridge? Because we have that deficit. And I think whoever can, be successful on that and move that needle will have a competitive advantage, because now you're finding a way to build find talent early, develop the competency to bring them in and skill them up in the ways that you need throughout your org. So when we talk about this, we're talking a lot about HBCUs because that's kind of one of the sources to get the talent, but we also want to bring them in and help them feel like this is a place they can grow and nurture. And so you can see that needle close, not only about, minorities and in the organization, but the levels that they achieve once they're in the organization. And we track both. It's not just about, do you have diversity? It's at what level do you have diversity, and how do you set objectives to increase, that growth once they come into the company and that retention. So I think it's key, right? And I think it's something that can benefit both sides. I think that's why we're seeing so much energy in it right now to move the needle.
Yeah. Well, that's powerful, Talbert. And, people talk all the time about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, but they oftentimes just focus on the D part, how many people are here, and forget about the fact that they also need to progress, be treated equitably, such that they can move forward in their careers and also feel included. Like this is truly my home. I'm like I belong here. And I know this really comes back to the senior leaders, the leadership, really investing, thinking from both mentorship and sponsorship. What is Lincoln doing to really ensure that their organization is focusing on Black talent that they have in the door to grow and progress? Thinking about the E and the I of DEI. And Judith, I'll start with you and then Alisha.
I think some of the programs that I mentioned, we're making direct investments. The leadership preparation program, I've gone through it at Lincoln with Leaders in Motion that are specifically targeting what I call people like me, or people in the stages of their career, but also people with diverse backgrounds as well. And the other thing, I think our senior leaders have made themselves available in just generous with their time, one-to-one time, as well as small group time. And this includes the CEO, just top down, and so I'm just describing my experience in terms of the investment that I've seen firsthand.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Alisha?
I think a point that you made earlier is really key, right? The belonging, the inclusion piece. So we can hire all day minorities, attract them, bring them to the organization, but if we can't retain them, develop them, and grow them within their career, then it doesn't matter, right? The recruiting is just in vain. So at Lincoln, we do have several programs, as Judith mentioned, for employees. So we have a lot of growth and development programs, leadership, managerial programs, even people who are already managers or executives, they even have learning programs where they can continue to grow and develop in their skills. We also have business resource groups. So you talked about community. So really getting employees to be able to build communities amongst, whichever constituency that they want to be involved in. So the African American Business Resource Group at Lincoln is fairly large. They host a lot of events. So it could be an educational event, anything from a Kwanzaa celebration or a Juneteenth celebration, all the way to, I think last week we had something on financial wellness. So how do we bridge the wealth gap within the African American community? So I think that there are things that are a draw to Lincoln. So it makes my job a little easier to attract Black talent, because I know that I'm not selling a dream, right? Once you come here, there are programs, there's activities, there's a community. We have a lot of like crucial conversations and just open dialogue conversations around race. And I feel like that really unifies our organization, and it brings people to feel like they belong. It helps them have difficult conversations with their managers and things like that, so that they can open up and truly be themselves, and really bring their whole self to the organization. And so once an individual, especially Black people, can bring their whole self to their work every day, everyone wins, right? That's when all the numbers start, rising, the profits come in, the creativity, the innovation. So really just being able to pour into our employees once they come here.
Yeah, excellent. So I mentioned that I've spent 12 years at the University of Michigan, and let's call that the opposite of an HBCU. How about that? That's a politically correct answer, saying that there wasn't many folks that looked like me on campus. And I think the competitive advantage in recruiting at HBCUs is that people, by definition, have a sense of equity and inclusion just because of the nature of those campuses. How do you contrast your recruiting at majority-serving institutions versus HBCUs? And let me see, Talbert, I'll start with you, but that's really a question for anybody that wants to take that one on.
Robert, I'm sorry. Are you able to repeat the question? You're a little muffled.
Okay. So sometimes my technology, this is what happens with a technologist, right? The technology teaches lessons. I'm getting a lesson.
Sure.
So the question is, how would you contrast your recruiting efforts at a majority serving institution versus a HBCU, and why that contrast? What's the difference in those approaches?
So I can go first. I think that it's different, but it's almost the same, right? And so it's different in that at the PWIs, we have different resources. So they tend to be more resourced from a curriculum, staff, the different programs and opportunities that they have available and access to. So that's the difference between them and like an HBCU. But when you go into the PWIs and you partner with different organizations, for instance, like a NESB or an Alpha or a NABA, something like that, the students are all the same, right? And so the students are still looking for opportunities. They're still looking for that belonging. They're still looking for that company culture and different things that we find that the HBCU students are looking for as well. So I think, the to your point, the contrast is really probably in the resources. So, and I know someone put this in the chat, and we'll probably get to this later. But the HBCUs tend to be underfunded, and so they don't have the computer labs, and sometimes they don't have the newest technology, or we talked about upskilling the curriculum at Morgan State. Some of the curriculum and coursework, the books and things like that are a little bit out of touch, right? And we all know that within technology, it updates so quickly that you have to stay on top of that. So I would say that would be the biggest difference, is that maybe in some instances the PWI students may be set up for success a little bit more than the HBCUs, but I find that the core of the students are the same, whether they're at a PWI or an HBCU. At the end of the day, they're all looking for opportunities and for access to organizations.
Okay, thank you. And this is a test. Can you hear me okay? I switched to my headset just to try it back
Much
up.
better. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's see. Is there any questions in the chat we want to deal with? I've got 100 more questions I could get to, so, but I don't want to hog all the time. So let's see. All right. So here's one from Keith. Thank you, Keith. Judith, this is directed to you, my dear. So I'll let you kind of take that one.
I'm just
Can you
looking
see
at
it or no? I can read it for you. It says, what was the selection criteria when you chose to partner with an HBCU, or what, more specifically, what made Morgan State work best? Sounds like somebody who wants to know why their school wasn't chosen, but maybe that's not true.
Well, believe it or not, I'll have Alisha add on to this too. I think we found it's quite competitive out there, because we know a lot of companies are also investing in HBCU. So we didn't just look at Morgan State. I don't have all the details, but I know that for us, I think it's about opportunities. You've got a lot of schools that are partnering, where you've got Google and Amazon and other companies that are in there. I think we tried to look at really where schools are underserved. And I think I saw a comment from someone joining from North Carolina, home of the best HBCUs. It's very competitive. I thought I saw that in the chat somewhere flying by earlier. It's very competitive for the talent, which is a good thing. Think back 20, 30 years ago, was it like that? So I'm excited to see that. I think it's about, especially in areas where they're underserved, I think that was one factor. I don't know, Alisha, if you want to add to that.
Sure. So one thing that's really important for us as we are building out our attraction strategy is impact. How much impact can we have on the students? So whether they come work at Lincoln or not, are we being impactful in their lives, right? And so being able to provide them with the opportunities, with the curriculum, the Code Link hackathon that Judith mentioned earlier. So most of the HBCUs that we selected are from some sort of list. So there's a couple of different reasons. So specifically Morgan State, with their computer science program, they do have one of the top 10 HBCUs for computer science program. They're fairly close to our corporate headquarters, which is right outside of Philadelphia. So close proximity played a big part of that as well. And then again, the opportunity, the size of the program, the students that they are graduating, and then to Judith's point, what other companies are there. So they do have Oracle, Amazon, Google. Everyone is really fighting and or being competitive. I won't say fighting. The talent, it's super competitive, as Judith mentioned. So all of those play a role. And then also access, right? Sometimes being able to come into the schools where they are looking for opportunities for organizations to partner with them. Some schools aren't as accessible. And so Morgan State, we did find that they really wanted us to come in and make some sort of impact, and we wanted to do that.
Yeah, I would find it surprising that they're not as accessible, because you're bringing resources to their campus. You would think that organizations would want to lean into that, but maybe not.
Some schools have a lot of resources, right? They have a lot of companies coming at them, and so it's competitive from that standpoint as well. So sometimes it's not that they don't want to be, the schools don't want to be accessible. It's the capacity and the resources internally that they have that can manage the organizations that are coming to them for to share opportunities.
Good. Do we have any other questions in the chat that we want to address before I take back over? Okay, so I want to, here we go. Julia asks, who and how does an HBU potential partner contact or connect with Lincoln Financial?
They can reach out to me. I can put my email address in the chat, and I'll also add my LinkedIn. So if you want to connect via LinkedIn or email me, we can set up time to connect.
Okay. So I think it was Alisha that referred to the ERGs at Lincoln Financial, and it kind of leads me to another question. How important is it for people that you're recruiting to be able to see successful Black leaders, role models? And Talbert, let me start with you on this one.
It's a great question, and it's a little bit of, I'll give my perspective, right? I can only speak for what I think is true in the interactions I've had. I do think there's a level of importance there. I think it signifies to someone that it is possible, right? And that there's someone at that level that shares a perspective potentially, not necessarily, but I think it does it gives them a little bit more comfort with that. And, Alisha knows this topic way deeper than me. So Alisha, let me know if I go off tracks here. But I remember when I used to look at some of the data, I think it was one of the indications, if you do have that level of leadership at the top, diversity of leadership at the top, it helps with retention, right? It helps with also just attracting talent as well. So it's a two-way street. I feel like it really helps us achieve our goals. So it benefits Lincoln too. And then I think it also signifies something to external candidates, to the outside world, of what the potential is at Lincoln and the support model that's there at Lincoln.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Judith or Alisha, you want to add to that? Judith?
I strongly agree with that. Just even as I, talk and mentor even high school students at the high school level, they're intrigued, like, oh, what made you want to join this company? There's interest, to Talbert's point around attraction. And I feel that we operate like that too. When we look at companies and think about where we want to go and hire, we look at that. And I think it's important. One of the great things I think about Lincoln is, when I was going through the recruitment process, one of the folks I interviewed with was from the DEI group or team in our company. And I think that level of engagement, not just interviewing for the job, but really that understanding of the culture and what you're walking into, and what is it like, and that understanding is important.
Mm-hmm.
I agree as well. I'll just add very quickly that I think at all levels, especially at early talent, mid-career talent, seeing senior leaders that look like you, it just makes it more real, especially if you're looking to grow in your career and to advance it. Seeing senior leaders is like, oh yeah, I know I could, that could be me someday. And so it really encourages employees from a retention standpoint, but also an engagement standpoint of knowing, hey, if I work hard and I continue, to go at it the way that I am, then I could potentially be that way too, because they support minorities being in leadership here.
Mm-hmm. So, Alisha, is it an expectation for Black leaders in Lincoln to give back, to make themselves available? I mean, is that an expectation and a norm?
It's my expectation. I don't know if Talbert and Judith will tell you I tap on them all the time for everything. And so I think that, I don't think it's an expectation, but I would say most people, especially Black people in leadership, want to give back. I don't have to pull anybody's arm. I don't have to do any, begging or anything like that, because they really do. I think, everyone wants to see diverse workplaces. Everyone wants to see people that look like them, no matter what level they are in the organization. And so if you are a senior leader, most of the time they do want to give back. Like I said, it's not a hard ask. But I would say there's no expectation, but maybe there's an unknown expectation.
Yeah.
If I could add to that really quickly, I mean, through our BRGs, but also the Lincoln Financial Foundation, the volunteerism, the collaboration to support the community. I'm involved in the African American BRG. There's the Women BRG. I strongly agree. I've never felt compelled, but just the want and the excitement, and we feed off each other as well to give back to the community. I think that we all just I think it's in the majority, I feel, that have the passion to give back, especially when you think about years ago when these organizations, or the way we're working today, weren't in place as much.
Mm-hmm. Well, I applaud Lincoln. That's a powerful cultural value, this notion of to whom much is given, much is required. You're exemplifying that. And not every organization behaves that way. So you're to be commended for that. So building on that, what would you say to an organization who's still struggling with trying to justify the importance of diversity and inclusion to their bottom line, or to their innovation process or problem-solving process? Why is having a diverse workforce important? What would you say to those organizations?
Well, I'll jump in. But I think, first off, I think the business case, I mean, there's tons of research and data. I think Alisha's hinted to some of those data points that show that it does impact the bottom line in a positive sense. When you see, that diversity of thought, comes along with it, empathy for the customers and stakeholders that you're serving, that also kind of provides a perspective, and from a business that pays dividends as well. So I think the tons of data, I think at this point, if a business is still questioning that, they're just not really doing the research, right? So that'd be my first thing. Why don't you do some research? It's pretty powerful at that point. I think some of the other obstacles you may hear is, well, we've tried, but we just don't get traction. And I would say, you get traction where you make it important, measure it, and hold people accountable in terms of equal plane of what performance it means, right? If you're performing at a high level and you're measuring kind of, are you driving traction, then I think you'll start to see the needle move, right? So I think, are you bringing it to the level of importance that will require the needle to move or not, right? That is how I would address that obstacle. But, overall, my perspective and what I've been seeing, I think a lot of companies are responding now, right? And it's just, are they making it a requirement from a performance? Are they raising it to the strategic objectives that are at a high enough plane, right? Where people are marshaling the level of resources and making the types of decisions and willing to really drive for it. or not is probably what's going to be the differentiator. And I think also what's going to be a differentiator is once the talent comes into your organization, what are you doing culturally to ensure that talent feels like this is a place where they can grow their career and develop, and a place where they could really want to stay. And I think that's the other aspect. I think the companies who will be successful will be able to check those boxes.
Mm-hmm. Great. I love that. You said measure and recognize and reward is key. The things that are important in an organization are those things that are resourced, measured, and rewarded, right?
Right.
So what are you measuring? What are you recognizing, resourcing, and rewarding? Anyone else want to comment on that one?
I just wanted to add that you have to be willing, make the investment. Change won't happen without some investment, and not just the monetary kind in terms of the recruiting and investing in your processes, but investing in really mentoring people when they come on board, and all the points that Talbert mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any questions? Oops, I'm sorry, Alisha, go ahead.
Is that okay if I add something?
Sure.
I think Talbert touched on this a little bit, but I think it's also, recognizing that these type of efforts are long-term investments. So you're not always going to get a quick, I think a part of the question was like, people, if they tried and maybe they give up or what have you. But I think that they have to realize that you have to be committed to this and in it for the long run, because you're not going to get, sometimes you do get immediate results, especially with early talent, that's definitely immediate results. But a lot of it is a long-term investment, especially when you talk about the HBCUs. So for instance, we go to CodeLink, we produce, have the CodeLink event, the hackathon on Morgan State. Some of those students may already have opportunities. They may not be interested in Lincoln right now. Maybe they're interested in something different. But in 2 to 3 years, they'll always remember that Lincoln hosted these hackathons. They never had something like this on campus. And so maybe 3 to 5 years, they'll check out Lincoln's website and then they'll come work here, right? And so you have to think of it from that aspect as well, of planting seeds into the HBCU students, because they may not blossom immediately, but definitely down the road, we can see that.
Mm-hmm. So thinking about your initiatives, particularly your initiatives to support HBCUs, what's been the lesson that you've learned that you would do differently based on what you know today? And again, Alisha, I'm going to start with you and work my way around. What have you learned that you would do different?
With the HBCUs?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm super biased about HBCUs, so it doesn't matter how much it's failing. We're going to be there because I'm going to support. But I don't know that we would do anything different. Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like I've done a lot of research on students and what it is that they're looking for from companies. And so like how to create solid partnerships. And I feel like in a lot of ways we've gotten it right.
Yeah.
And so some of those things I'll just, they want to see a familiar face. So people that look like them, they like authenticity. So going in there and being yourself and showing your true, the culture of the organization. And then repetition. They want to see the same person come back.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people don't think of that. I feel like even at Lincoln, we maybe in the past, or sending people that didn't look like, go to the HBCU and no one looks like them, right? I think that those are things that can tend to have organizations fail at recruiting from the HBCUs, because the students really want to see not only someone that looks like them, but they want to see the same person over and over and over again, because it shows that it's not just me participating in a career fair. right? You come back and they see you over and over again. It's more about that partnership. It's that long-term relationship. Lincoln didn't just come in and then they forgot about us after the career fair.
Yeah.
They came in, they gave us some sort of skill, right, with the CodeLink hackathon. So we received a skill from them. They gave us money, right? That's most important. So they provide scholarships for us. And then I can also get an opportunity, a job or an internship or what have you. So I think it's knowing that organizations are really, truly committed to the HBCUs is why the students attach to a brand once they see that constant. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for.
No, you gave a brilliant. You gave a brilliant answer.
All right.
You gave a brilliant. I wish I had $1 for the number of times that I heard HBCU leaders say that Organization A parachuted in one time, made a big splash, and we never saw them again.
Yeah. And they say that to me too. Kind of like, okay, like how committed are you? But I always tell them, I can't tell you, but I can show you. So give me a chance and we'll show you how committed we are. And I think we have proven that at many HBCUs.
Mm-hmm. So I see a question in the chat asking about possible programs at Lincoln for military leaders, people that are veterans. Is there something that someone can speak to with regard to that?
Yeah, so we have programs that help diversity in all aspects. So we do recruiting for veterans, people with disabilities. From the veteran standpoint, we partner with an organization where we hire veteran or military wives. So people, the military, they may move often and their wives kind of can't really start a career or get their swing in an organization or get their flow. And so we do partner for that as well. LGBTQ, we do everything. So one thing, we do focus heavily on the minorities and ethnic diversity, but also all of the other areas are definitely something that we focus on as well.
Okay, very good. Well, so I want to ask one last big question to everybody here. And Judith, I'm going to start with you. So what would be the one bit of advice you would give to an organization that's really looking to attract a wider, more diverse pool of resources?
I would say, and I've thought about this when as Alisha was answering her question on the HBCU and what we would do differently. I think there is additional opportunities at other organizations, not necessarily college, but like your local boys and girls clubs and mentoring high school students. And part of it is just my experience and observation from working with the Boys and Girls Club personally, that there's opportunities to tap into talent that, they may have plans to go to college or they may not have plans to go right away. So I feel like there's opportunity there. If I could offer a takeaway, that reach even further into high schools and organizations that are supporting that age group to start tapping into talent opportunities there and internships and like even over a summer. That's I think there's more opportunities in going and reaching earlier.
I think the data shows that decisions around career pathing is actually getting made at the middle school and early high school level. The courses they're deciding to take or not take actually has a huge influence. So Talbert, what's the one thing you would tell organizations?
Well, I say those kids are smarter than I was. I have no idea. They're in middle school. I will say that. I think Alisha hit on a couple of things, and Judith as well. I'll say two things. I think that point about this is a long-term commitment, and you have to look at it that way. You got to be committed. I think the second piece is, this requires real change, right? This is not a check the box exercise of, we're going to go to this HBCU, we're going to do a career fair, we'll get some people in the door, and then, that'll solve the problem, right? I think you have to really look at what do you need to change internally as an organization and culturally right? And the processes that you use as well to really get to the results at the end of the day. And so if you're not up for the change, then you need to really question, and that's why you're probably not getting the results. Right? And I think that's the key. The change management piece, I think, is undersold sometimes.
Excellent. Thank you. Alisha?
I would say be bold, right? So try things that maybe you've never tried before when it comes to attracting, recruiting, retaining, building out programs for minorities once they are in the organization to help retain them, to help them continue to grow and develop within their career. Be bold to go to the HBCUs and give it a chance, right? So even if you're not able to hire them one year, maybe the next year you can. So again, just continue, don't quit, stay at it, and then also just be bold.
Okay, excellent. So are there any questions in the chat that we should touch on as we look at our hour wrapping up here? All right, so here's Sherry saying, are we considering people skilled through alternative routes? There's a lot of talented individuals who can't go to college. Think of alternative education paths. Anyone want to respond to that?
I can speak to this. So we do have apprenticeship programs here at Lincoln within our IT space for individuals who right out of high school. So right out of high school, if they decide maybe they want a gap year or they're not ready for a 4-year college and maybe they go to a 2-year community college, we do hire them as apprentices, especially in the North Carolina area. So if you were there, but basically what we do is we work with an organization to hire the employee right out of high school, and then they spend 2 years here at Lincoln learning some sort of technology. So we give them, it's kind of twofold. So they have a soft skill piece where it helps them transition into a corporate environment. I mean, basic, like how do you send an email? How do you manage Outlook? Different things that you tend to learn in college. So we teach them the soft skill piece of being in a corporate environment, and then the technical piece. So they start out like learning how to build computers and how do you, I don't know, y'all, I'm not technical, but I'm like, oh no, I'm going down a hole. And so, it gives them some of the end user, I think that's what you guys call it, end user experience, or really working through like the customer service, help desk, things like that. So they can really get acclimated within the IT space. And then after those 2 years, they are then hired onto a team full time. So they can do software engineering or what have you, but we make sure that we provide them with those tools and skill sets throughout that 2-year apprenticeship.
Yeah, well, that's good. Because I think increasingly we're going to see people walking these alternate educational career paths, and we're going to have to adapt to that kind of model and take those on. Any other questions in the chat before we wrap up? Avery says, what about those transitioning? Now, I'm not sure what we're transitioning, so.
Like a career changer?
Let's assume that that's what they mean, Alisha.
So our apprenticeship program, we have another one that also gears more towards the career changer. So someone who may be 30 years old, they have a family, they didn't go to college, so they tend not to have college degrees, and we put them through a similar apprenticeship program that I just mentioned.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I think I want to wrap up with a favorite question of mine, and that is that is there something that you were really burning to want to say that I wasn't smart enough to ask the right question to tease it out? Here's your opportunity to tease it out. So, Judith, is there anything that you want to share with the audience that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I thought the questions from the audience were awesome. I was figured out how to follow the chat and just the conversation going there. Robert, I thought we covered quite a bit. I don't know if Alisha and Talbert have anything else, but thank you for the opportunity today.
Okay, cool. Talbert, anything you want to say that you didn't get a chance to get out?
No. You know, I'm glad to be here and share some of the things that we're doing at Lincoln. And you know, it's a great place to be and culturally. And if anyone the discussions or dialogue, you know, reach out. I'm on LinkedIn as well. My name is pretty simple. You'll see it. It'll probably pop up. But yeah, love to have further dialogue. Anyone who's interested.
Excellent, thank you. Alisha, any last words?
So you guys see how I have Talbert and them trained, right?
Yeah.
Talbert is the recruiting coordinator. He's like, anyone interested in opportunities? I don't even have to do the recruiting. I'm just kidding. But no, I don't have anything to add. I think we did cover a lot. I do want to thank everyone for attending today. I mean, this has been amazing, great dialogue. You have my contact information as well. So if you are interested in opportunities, and I see someone from LinkedIn has asked a question about mid-career IT roles and opportunities, they can definitely reach out to me. Dawn, I don't know if we can throw my email up there again in my LinkedIn, but definitely we can continue the conversation. So again, thank you.
Okay. So there's Alisha, and the doors of the church are open. How about that? So, well, I want to thank you all for the opportunity. ITSMF so values our partnership with Lincoln, your impressive organization, your value system, your ethics, and of course your commitment to diversity is just outstanding, and it makes it easy for us to partner with you, and we lean in with you in the lifting up of HBCUs. So we hope to continue that partnership going forward. And with that, Sherelle, I think I'll hand it back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Robert. And thank you, Judith, Alisha, and Talbert for that amazing discussion. I was here looking the comments. I love how engaged our audience was today. So this was definitely a great topic that I think hit home for a lot of our attendees today. So thank you guys for joining us. Those of you guys that are still watching, do not leave. I do have a couple of more announcements that we would like to give to you. So before we close out, we want to ask you to do a favor and complete our survey for today. If you enjoyed today's session, please give us that feedback and let us know. We have the link available for you in the chat. So please take a moment to complete that. We are also excited about our upcoming S123 Symposium and our Technology Leaders Awards Gala. We will be in New York City, May 4th through the 6th. Registration is open now, but early bird pricing will end next week, as well as our room block will close on April 5th. So if you have not gotten your hotel room and you plan to attend, we encourage you to do that now. As always, membership is open to those interested in joining ITSMF. You can email membership at itsmfleaders.org for more information. Again, thank you everyone for attending, and thank you to our speakers, Judith, Alisha, Talbert, and to our wonderful moderator, Robert Scott. We'll be rebroadcasting this later today at 4 p.m. So if you missed it, you can tune back in later today and catch the entire discussion. Thank you guys.